welcome to the latest episode of 305 Vox Populi here in the town of Miami Lakes. I'm Mayor Manny Cid, and we have a phenomenal guest today. We have Carlos Alves, the Executive Director of FEBA. FEBA Americas, right, Carlos?
That's correct.
How you doing, Carlos?
Yeah, good. Thanks for inviting me and FEBA. It's an honor to be here, so thank you.
It's an honor to have you on here. I got to thank some of our sponsors. Shout out to Fred Senra at Miami Lakes AutoMall. Miami Lakes AutoMall provided the seed money to start this podcast. He believed in our vision, and look where it's at today. It's truly phenomenal. They're located at 16600 Northwest 57th Avenue here in the town of Miami Lakes. Their phone number is 305-455-3510. Carlos, what do you think about this mural? I mean, think about it. You're in a mayoral office in a city, and half of it, there's a mural. What do you think?
Yes, I think we need to move FEBA here.
I'm in. Let's do it.
No, phenomenal. I love it. I love the art. I love getting connected to the community in a form of expressing through art. You have been to the FEBA office. We'll talk later about that, but we're so honored to be in Miami now. Miami is FEBA home, so fantastic.
No, it means a lot to have you on here. Our mural sponsor was a local artist, Grisel Gajano. She's a school counselor, and on the side, she does stuff like this. So you can see, it's very inclusive, kind of speaks Miami to you. So her contact number is 786-353-8608. And our food sponsor today that provided food for our incredible team, Papa John's. Great Mike Lee's a great friend, the owner of Papa John's here in the town of Miami Lakes. His address is 15428 Northwest 77th Court here in the town of Miami Lakes. You can reach him at 305-362-1300. They have an awesome gluten-free crust. If y'all are into that, that is amazing. He does some good stuff out there. And our film production team, got to give them a shout out, Matter Lakes Broadcasting. Carlos, they started this last year, and they do a great job. They started with a handful of students, and today there's 90 students in the academy. So when we started the podcast, and I know the school started, we said, there has to be a social component, right? You got to make an impact on your community, right? It's not just having podcasts, you and I having a conversation, but there has to be that impact. And literally students are learning and having these conversations and being inspired by great guests like you. So great job, guys. Matter Lakes Broadcasting. So Carlos, to you, one of the main questions that we ask, what's your why? Like, when did you say, I love basketball. I want to get into not only play basketball, but FEBA, being the executive director of FEBA Americas, running everything from Canada all the way to Argentina, right?
Correct.
That is some of the best basketball in the world, the best basketball in the world. And you're the executive director. Like, what's your why? Why do you do what you do? And I think that's the main question we ask, because that inspires that next generation. But what's your why?
Right. Well, first of all, I think I never looked as this as a job, right? It's a privilege to be working with so many great people, government bodies like yourself, national teams, athletes, community, youth. So I'm extremely lucky to be and blessed to be in a position like that. My particular story I make very, very short. I come from Brazil. I played professional basketball for many years down there. Play NCAA in the States also.
Who did you play for?
BYU.
Yeah,
I'm not Mormon, but
Division I, but that's a big deal.
Yeah, play ball there, but I come from a very simple family in Brazil, and this game has given me everything that I was able, education. So the way I look at it is, since I joined FEBA, and even before that, I spent many years with Nike, working in Europe, and here is my time to give back to the game. Because the game gave me everything, literally, from a development perspective. Basketball was my anchor, So privilege, federations, athletes. For those, not many people know FEBA, and I travel a lot around the world, and I tell my staff, one day we're going to change this, but I see on these planes and people like FEBA, FIFA, of basketball. I said, that hurts, you know. So we got to change that a little bit. We're in the process of getting awareness in the United States. In Europe, everyone knows FEBA, but we're getting there, you know, organizing Olympic Games all the way to youth events in anything in the middle. We are the governing body of basketball. So
that is phenomenal. So the Olympic Games, I mean, what role does FIBA play? So the audience know, the kid knows. What roles do you play in that entire organizing? Because we all watch it. I love Olympic basketball. So what role does FIBA play?
Well, that's a very interesting question because, first of all, FIBA operates with 250 national federations around the world, right? I, as I said, have the privilege to lead Americas from Canada to Argentina. There is another person in Europe, another one in Africa, another one in Asia, Oceania. And our Secretary General, Andrea Zaglis, sits in Switzerland. Okay? So that's FIBA. To answer your question, for Olympic Games, not many people know that the International Olympic Committee actually turns into these international federations, judo, basketball, everything, and say, here, you organize basketball now. So to answer your question, we do A to Z in Olympic Games from a perspective of the Olympic Committee comes to federations like ourselves and say, okay, arena, players, travel, lately, COVID exams, accommodation, we organize the whole Olympic Games.
That is phenomenal. So the one that's just passed, you guys were, wow, I did not see. That is something that I think, I didn't know. I love basketball. I had no idea that FIBA, you all are the ones that run Olympic basketball.
Yeah. There are three, at the senior level, there are three main events, right? The Olympic Games, I just described. I was in Tokyo, Japan during the games for almost a month. We had to stay there. But our staff goes way earlier. So Olympic Games, very top. Then next to the Olympic Games is the World Cup of Basketball. We play in 2019 in China, men and women, right? We play in China, the men, women. We're going now this August, end of August, to Sydney, Australia, and the 12 best teams in the world, including USA, Canada, Brazil, are heading there to play. So, and then the men's, the next one is 2023, next year, in Philippines, Indonesia, and Japan. So at senior level, World Cups and Olympic Games.
That's phenomenal. So one of the main points that you made earlier was taking FIBA to that next level, right? Where the brand is known. Like you said, people were saying FIFA or, to where the brand is known. You, right before you got to FIBA, you were working for probably the most well-known brand in the world, specifically when it comes to, basketball, that, Nike. So how did your time at Nike prepare you for what you're doing today and where you want to take FIBA to?
Right. Very good question. Look, also working for Nike, I tell a lot of students like the ones that are listening to us today that these organizations, the Nike, the Adidas, and Under Armours, the sporting goods, they're phenomenal because they have over the years mastered, for me, the marketing part and the building the brand through association with phenomenal athletes, whatever sport. Take outside basketball. If you look what these companies do on a daily basis with baseball, with basketball, football, soccer, everything. So my time there was, I tell everyone, was a master's degree, right? You learn so much. Again, a privilege to be there. And then you move to an organization which is non-profit, FIBA. We're a non-profit organization. We're not in the business of making millions and millions of dollars. The money that we make, we invest in developing the game. So to answer your question, I think first two different building models. One is profit, the other is non-profit. One wants to sell and touch consumers. We want to develop the game. We want more kids that are like listening to us today to play more basketball. That's our goal. How we do that, I always tell my team, this is a marathon, not 100 meters run, right? In the model of these profit organizations, you buy media and you run millions of dollars campaigns and you raise awareness. With FEBA, you don't have that because we're non-profit. So how you do it? Start at grassroots. We get in communities like Hialeah, and we work with organizations like yourself to really get down to the bottom of the pyramid that we say, grassroots.
Yep.
And then from there, raise awareness with the Olympic Games. But it takes time.
No, it definitely does. I know you were the senior brand director during the World Cup for Nike over there, and also the general manager, senior director for the entire Olympics in your home country.
Right.
I mean, so that experience itself must have been phenomenal. Right. One thing I wanted to thank you, right, is moving that office from Puerto Rico. I love Puerto Rico, and I know the basketball is very strong in Puerto Rico, but believe it or not, a lot of the coaches from Puerto Rico are moving here. Like there's one of the local schools here literally has the other coaches moved from Ponce, Puerto Rico, and they took. So you're starting to see the transition. But moving the office from over there to Miami, and how was that move? How was this transition? And also being a mayor here locally. Thank you for moving here, because how much that means to our local basketball community.
Yeah, no, thank you for having us, here, FIBA. Look, Puerto Rico is our home forever. FIBA home forever. We are there over 15 years when we established the office, and before that, FIBA is a 100 years old organization, so Puerto Rico will ever be. Now, there are two reasons. One, I took this job August 2017, and if we all remember a very sad part, the Maria hit Puerto Rico, the hurricane, right? And that's a challenge on the Caribbean. The challenge, as we know, is the infrastructure and the rebuild. So point number one was, do we continue here in Puerto Rico with these challenges that every year come, right? The second part was Miami offer, after a deep analysis. We consider other cities in the United States and outside the United States. For example, Panama, all these other cities that have the ability to offer us a hub. So Miami, geographically speaking, is perfect because all the federations, national teams that we work in the south or in the north is right in the middle in the connectivity that we have. So Miami is perfect. We're very happy to be here. We're very honored to be here. We have an office in Coconut Grove. That's the house of basketball for our Miami community. Anytime you want to come, knock on our door. We have a coffee. We talk basketball. We love basketball. It's a beautiful space. We're very proud. There's plans to stay for a very long time.
So what's really cool about their office, I had a chance to visit. They literally, and talking about love of basketball, they have a basketball court in the middle of their workspace. So you got people with their computers hanging out, and I just got a basketball. I started shooting hoops with Jaime. And that to me was amazing. And talking about creating a space, that was phenomenal.
I heard you beat Jaime, right?
All the time. But yeah, he's let me tell you, he's a great friend, and I know you guys pulled off something here in Miami that was so special. That 3-on-3 that you did, there really isn't a better place to do it, right? When you think about Miami and having a FIBA Americas do a 3-on-3, every country was well represented, and there was so much pride. When I walked in there, I remember I was at the AAA. I was coaching a basketball game, so I had to walk over, and I'm just walking over and hearing the music. And right when I walk in, the first guy I see was Robert Height, that played for the Heat. He played for the Miami Hurricanes, hanging out there, talking to everybody. And I'm like, this is such a special event. Like, the energy was so awesome. But the one thing I really noticed was how much pride there is in everybody's country. Every single country that was represented there were fans who live in Miami, which makes Miami unique, right? You really don't get that in the rest of the Americas. We're the melting pot of the entire Americas. Every country had people there with their shirts, with their flags, having a good time. I mean, it was amazing. Yeah. And the other thing that was pretty cool, talking about the quality of basketball. The other night I'm watching the Heat game, and I see Charlie Brown Jr. Charlie Brown Jr. was playing in the tournament. And I'm like, the opportunities that you're providing folks to be seen. He's got picked up, I think, by the 76ers. And I saw that, and I'm like, wait a second. I just saw him play. Yeah, So thank you for doing that in Miami. It was an amazing event, and I think there's no better place in the Americas to host something like that.
Well, epic for us was epic for sure. First of all, we have now the privilege at FIBA of the team that we have established in Miami, the FIBA staff, phenomenal team that the kudos goes to them. They put a night and day around the clock, but we saw the result, right? So I'm very proud of my team in terms of delivering that event. Now, from a strategy standpoint, 3-on-3 is for FIBA the urban discipline, right? I make an analogy to soccer. I think you see 11 against 11 playing on soccer, and then you have that quick 5-a-side. Beach volleyball has the same thing. We have 3-on-3. So 3-on-3 is for us a discipline of basketball that is way more progressive, young, fresh, in simple things. In 5-on-5, you need 10 players, you need 2 hoops, right? Yep. And you need a full court. 3-on-3, 6 players, 1 hoop, and you can play literally in a parking lot, right?
That is
so true. Access, big thing here on 3-on-3. In terms of the event that you saw, from the highest level, we talked earlier about Tokyo Olympics. We had USA on the women's bringing home the gold. The men's, unfortunately, didn't come to Americas, went to Europe. I believe Serbia or someone like that won the gold. But we will invest a lot going forward on 3-on-3. That particular event is going to be held in Miami for the next 2 years. So we have year 1, we have now coming up year 2 and year 3. Same spot. We're just going to take every year up a level. There are a few intersections, and I can talk forever about 3-on-3 because I love the opportunities and the potential that 3-on-3 offer us. But I think you were there. You saw the intersection, for example, of music and basketball, yep. Right? People that have not seen 3-on-3 is one of the very unique disciplines or sports that you play with the music on all the time. And this is something that is not very common. So think about the opportunities you have to bring with communities like you have here, the best DJs in the city, or partnerships that you can make with the
best announcer in the city.
Best announcer in the city. Why not? These kids, DJ, and there's so much we can, I tell my team all the time, disrupt in a good way, you know? So very excited with the possibilities. Our partner, Vaunt, also brought us the opportunity to execute in Miami. We're very grateful. Roger Mason Jr., everybody is involved, NBA players, and we're looking forward. It's exciting times ahead for us.
No, it definitely is, and it has such a great impact locally, because even here in Miami Lakes, we had a couple of the teams staying literally right down the street. You could walk there, wow. And I remember walking in and hanging out with Team USA. You had WNBA All-Stars practicing on one side. You had Charlie Brown Jr., you had Rick Barry's son, who's a legend here in Miami, and a legend through. Amazing. And I heard he even shoots the free throws. His free throws the same way.
That was cool.
But having them stay here and practicing at Shula's, I mean, the kids watching that, that impact alone for those kids to know, hey, NBA players played here, WNBA players played. I mean, it has such a positive impact in basketball. So I definitely appreciate, and even on the local economy, because they stayed here, they spent money.
Right.
So I really appreciate that. One of the questions before I hand it off to the kids, I know they had a question for you. What is the experience that has impacted you the most, or that you've enjoyed the most in your career?
Oof, that's a good one. I think I would say that it's not a single experience, but having the opportunity. I'm a passionate about youth and developing youth, right? So throughout my career, I think I would say that the opportunity to utilize basketball as a catalyst for developing youth and taking kids out of the street, giving opportunities to phenomenal athletes that wouldn't have that opportunity to progress in life through sports. Yeah, I think that's what I am extremely proud that to have that opportunity to impact so many lives and young kids through basketball.
That is phenomenal. Lou, Micah, Ariel, you got anything?
I got something first, and I'm sure you guys have something next. I want to back it up a little bit. I want you to put your businessman cap on and explain to these students, how do you pick a certain location for your event? Like, yes, it's beautiful. We showed up. It's at Bayfront. What made you guys say we want to do it at Bayfront? And what cities do you choose when it goes to, Puerto Rico or whatever? What is the main factors that tells you guys this is where we need to do our next event?
Okay, very good question. It's complex, right? With the business hat on, I like to say that there are many layers into making a decision like that. So the first layer because it's a business, end of the day, is the financials, right? It has, we say, the number has to be right, meaning that if we're going, let's hypothetically speak about taking a FEBA under 18 American Cup, the best 10 teams in the whole zone play, to Mexico, for example, just so we speak. We need to work with the National Federation in Mexico, with the government in Mexico, and we have a very detailed, my team, the operational side, has a very detailed of what it takes financially to run an event like that. It's not different than what you guys do here too, but accommodation, transportation, venue, lately PCR tests for COVID, that's a huge part of organizing an event. After you pass that financial layer comes the second layer, which is infrastructure, right? Is the gym in accordance with FEBA? I'll give you a quick example. It's very difficult for us, FEBA, to take events to universities and high schools in the U.S. because the court size, the dimension that NCAA plays is completely different than FEBA. So our court is longer, NCAA is shorter. So if we take an event like that, we need to put tape on the floor, change the size, just a lot of complexity, right? Hotel, is the hotel decent? Can accommodate, is the hotel enough for under 18 years old? Or if it's a senior. So that complexity of infrastructure, very important. So we spoke about financial, infrastructure. And the third one is, to be honest, the impact that we can have in the communities that we go. So when we go to Puerto Rico, we work through the FIBA International Basketball Foundation. In high schools, like the kids are listening to us today, how can we insert and inject basketball through the lens of refurbishing a court or working with local high schools? That's very important for us, right? And on the operational side, I could talk hours here, but flights, location, we spoke earlier about Miami being a hub, right? So for us, hosting an event with all respect, Panama, very good. A lot of flights go to Panama, but hosting an event in 5 hours drive from Buenos Aires and Argentina, difficult. Federations have to come, take a bus, so it's very complex. But
great question. You guys got anything else for Carlos?
I would say that, as we all know, there has been a growing emphasis on STEM careers and students going into, being doctors, lawyers, engineers, and stuff of that nature. And you did mention that basketball, your whole goal with FEBA is to empower kids through basketball. What would you say to someone who may oppose with that view, who may necessarily think that basketball is not the answer, or that basketball is not a life choice? What would you say to them?
Yeah, look, for us, I use the word catalyst, right, on purpose, because we, of course, first respect. If you don't want to be an athlete, or sometimes you cannot be athletes because the game is very competitive, that's okay. Now, and I can't speak for those that don't see in basketball an opportunity or progression. That's okay. Now, coming back to basketball and trying to answer your question, if I may, if you think about, I can give you a lot of statistics, but I won't bother you. This is for old people, young people like yourself. What you need to think, in my opinion, is this. What is the percentage of, for example, college basketball players? I'm talking Division 1, 2, and 3 in the United States. There are over 900 universities in the U.S., Division 1 and 2. Okay, you know what the percentage of players that continue to play basketball after the senior year when they graduate? I'm talking about all levels, but a senior basketball player that graduate, less than 1%. So that means that 99% of those student athletes that are in school and they graduate or they complete their career at college, they're going to be a doctor, the engineers, and they're going to have to find a job, the majority of them. So the way we do, and here's the answer to your question, I hope, is also work what is life after basketball with these young athletes, right? The doctors, the engineers, or how can we guide them? Because a lot of them find themselves in the intersection of, okay, the game is over for me, now what? What do I do? And we have a big problem, So that's a challenge. Very good question. I love the question. We are very soon, I can't say right here because it's confidential, but we'll be launching some very strong partnerships with organizations that will help us guide the student athlete that does not make after the senior year.
That's a great answer, Carlos. Both my brother-in-law and my sister played college basketball, and that's provided them their path in life. My brother-in-law did play. He played in Costa Rica. He played professional in Costa Rica, then Mongolia, a couple other countries. But yeah, for my sister, definitely opened that door and provided her for good living today. She got her degree. So Carlos, one thing that the kids like to do is kind of flip the script. You get to ask me a couple questions. So anything you got for me?
Okay, I love that. Look, to be honest, you trigger kind of curiosity on me because I have no doubt you beat Jaime, you love basketball, you did all of this. So talk to me a little bit about basketball, how the whole thing, I flipped the question, but why you love so much the game and what is the story behind?
So I first, like every young Cuban American, kid born in a Cuban household, I was put into play baseball, right? We were playing baseball, but I got to the point I hit 10 years old and I was like, and I was actually really good at baseball, but I was like, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like I would play catcher sometimes or third base, and I found myself just standing around. And when I started playing basketball, I personally became enamored with the game. I played point guard. When I was when I was younger, I was one of the taller kids, and then I stopped growing. So at that point, I was playing power forward, but I ended up playing point guard in high school. But I became enamored with the game because you need everybody, right? You need somebody to set the screen. You need a rebound. You need this. But it taught me so many. I didn't play college, right? My grades weren't good enough. I didn't play professional. But those lessons, and I still play today, pickup games. I played in some leagues and stuff like that. Yeah. But the lessons that I learned on the basketball court, teamwork, passing the ball when you need to, adversity, right? A lot of times losing a game. I remember there was I don't know if I think Hyman, you were playing in this one. We lost to you guys in the championship game at we were down by like 2 points at the end. I passed the ball, whatever, and yeah, it was not good. We lost. I ended up. It is what it is. But even when you lose a game, to lose with class, right? And that is something we're gonna lose at something in life, right? Not everybody wins at everything. That's just not a reality. Nobody hits 1,000. If you swing for the fences in your career or whatever it is, but understanding that it's okay as long as you get back up and you learn from those losses. Like now, I coach high school basketball. One of the biggest lessons I teach my kids is that develop. It's not only your athleticism, but your basketball IQ, under being a good teammate, losing with class, winning with class. Right. Those are lessons that'll help you in the rest of your life. And I think the lessons of teamwork, everything. I mean, I take those today, and it helps me be a good mayor. Helps me be a good business owner because I understand from my past in basketball competing. That's the other thing that really helped me too with running for public office. I wasn't afraid to compete. I wanted to compete. So every time I would run against somebody, I always ran against an opponent that maybe was better well funded. But I knew if I worked harder on my game, I'm gonna win. Yeah. And that's the same thing that I learned from basketball. That
is a great story, and we had an opportunity to talk at AmeriCup, the 3-on-3. Yep. We had a Bayfront. The flipping side now with your business hat on and public office. Clearly, you're a passionate sports leader. What do you think? From the sports angle, your biggest challenges, we all have, right? I have my challenges at FEBA. I wish I had a way more larger budget that I have. I don't, right? So your vision to the community, and what do you think the biggest challenges for the upcoming years in terms of sports?
So I'll give you an example. We've been trying for the last 20 years, before I was mayor, to redevelop one of our greatest parks in the town. So a 30-acre park. It's been the same since the 1960s and 70s. It's kind of falling apart. It's not in the greatest condition, and we've been working on it. The biggest challenge we've had is to change the culture where people kind of understand, hey, when you have good facilities, parks, it doesn't mean that you have to play basketball, baseball. Totally. There's a walking track. There's tennis. There's pickleball. There's 1,000 things that people could do. It doesn't mean just And to me, it was changing that culture where people saw value in those assets, right? Like I just went to this week and I was in Tavares, Florida. I was coaching in a tournament. Tavares, Florida is kind of little in the middle of nowhere. It's north of Orlando, and they spent a lot of money building a facility that is the size of our Main Street, just with basketball and volleyball courts, dozens of indoor. But they did it with the thought, hey, if we'll build it, they will. And there were hundreds of schools there, renting their hotel rooms, spending money there, moving the economy forward, and that's where I kind of, tell my folks, hey, you build these amenities, it's an amenity for everybody. If you have a gymnasium where you play basketball games during the day, seniors are going to use it to do Tai Chi and to do indoor things. If there's a walking track, whatever, there's something for everybody. But my biggest thing is that changing that culture. For the first time in 20 years, we're actually moving forward with the plan, which I'm very proud of. But there's a lot of people that say, hey, we don't need that. And I think showing the value of what these facilities do for a community means so much, right?
Fantastic. Well, I tell you what, you can count on FEBA going forward for sure. We want to be part of the community in projects like that, in enabling. We're talking the whole morning here about enabling young kids, boys and girls, to just progress in life. So.
No, 100%. And Carlos, in closing, the last question that we got for you, what are, especially to inspire that future generation, what are the lessons in your life that you believe to be important to pass on to future generations?
Yes. I think you just touched upon that. I think through sports, we are living crazy world, right? These pandemic and this. And the more I go through this and I teach my kids, the couple things. First, teamwork, right? Teamwork. We learn in basketball courts, football, what have you, but sports give you that sense of teamwork. It's not about you, it's about the collective, not I, the we, right? Second, for me, I'm a strong believer on hard work, right? Ethics, put the hours, whether you are the Kevin Durant's of the world, the Stephen Curry's, or a young kid playing a FEBA tournament, Hialeah High School, the sweat makes it or break it, right? So put the hours and you'll collect the dividends later on. In third, I do believe in the power of transparency, being honest, treat people the way you want people to treat you. And these are all lessons that I think as an athlete you learn. And I gonna end the conversation from my side in the way I started. I think is a privilege for people like ourselves that are leading communities, sports, and have the opportunity to impact so many people in a good way to do the right thing. So thank you so much for having us. It's a privilege for FIBA. We're very honored to be here in Miami, and let's work together.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for what you've done here for Miami basketball, right? I remember when LeBron came here, everybody wanted to play basketball, and now, he kind of, when he left, it went down a little bit. Now you guys are here, and what you guys did in Bayfront was phenomenal. So kudos to you and the entire team, Hyman and everybody. So there you have it. Carlos Alves, the Executive Director of FIBA Americas. So we'll see you next week. Tune in on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.